And welcome back to the Engage A podcast. Here joined on Wednesday by Robby, Elliott. We had some mishaps that didn't lead to us having a recording a recording yesterday, but
Yep.
that still doesn't stop us. We still have opinions to talk about. We still got people to listen to it. So we're here. We're going to be here tomorrow as well, Thursday, giving you our preview for this weird week 9 slate. But hey, college football just seems to be weirder, and we even have games on the agenda that we might not even get to. We'll see. We'll see how late this goes. We'll see how much
Yeah.
opinions we have to talk about. This will get interesting, but jumping right into it, the big game that happened on Saturday at noon on Fox, Gus and Joel on the call. Ohio State beats Penn State 20-12. Robby, take this one away because I feel like you're a little got something to say about this.
You know, all I could say was going into this game, watching this game for so many years, this is usually a high explosion game. Just like high-powered offenses going toe-to-toe. That's not the case anymore. It's not the case for the Big Ten, really, besides Michigan. But the takeaway was that both of these there's legit quarterback problems. If Marvin Harrison Jr. doesn't exist, Penn State literally wins this game by an ugly score of probably like 12 to whatever, probably 12-7, something like that. And Joel Klatt actually made a great point about why, though, Marvin Harrison is and how they utilize Marvin Harrison is so under talked about because they truly do utilize him to the utmost potential of him, and they do it in a way that isn't going to cause him to get hurt, cause him to get overused. They called him he used the baseball reference, called him their out pitch, which is such a good reference. We'll get into that in a second.
Yeah.
But the thing that I was correct about is that these defenses, not just Ohio State's, but Penn State's too, are so elite. Like, so elite. You can't fault the secondary of Penn State for giving up the amount of yardage they did to Marvin Harrison. Marvin Harrison's going to go down as one of the greatest college football receivers of all time. We'll see how he does in the NFL, but he's obviously gets coached every single day by a legend of the game. So you know he's going to be – this kid doesn't shy away from big stages. His kids watch his dad play in Super Bowls. Like, this is –
Oh, Robby, you cut out.
But the last point to add is just like Ohio State actually showed they can coach well in a big matchup. I think this Penn State team is one of the better Penn State teams we've seen in the past 5 years. And so for Ryan Day to show a complete game plan, even when things go wrong, get ticked off when things were going wrong or when things were still going right and show that toughness. Like, I'm going to give this Ohio State team a lot of credit. This is a good win. And this is a very good showing to show that your defense is truly elite and that, Notre Dame wasn't a fluke. Because I do think there's highlights to this Penn State offense. Do I think Penn State played it well? No, but we'll get into that as we break down the game even more when I talk about, the reference of the out pitch for Marvin Harrison and how Penn State doesn't use their out pitch, which I think is their two stud running backs.
I mean, it was really tough to watch this game, honestly. Like, I got a little bored watching it.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't able to catch much of the games live on Saturday, being in East Lansing for that game. But watching this game back, it's really tough. And it was really evident that both of these offensive lines are just not very good. Even with Penn State having Olu Fashanu, like, they didn't pass protect very cleanly. Like, Aller was not able to get throws off that. Even in the quick passing game, like, he was still getting pressure generated on him. And neither of these teams were able to run the ball. It was really tough watching, having Ohio State. And I get it. You don't have Travion Henderson, Chip Trainum, your big, burly, third and short back. He's probably not at full health. You got Devin Brown that goes down during the game as well, which he's been really effective in the red zone. This game was just tough, man. And obviously Marvin Harrison's the highlight here. You don't have Emeka Ibuka either, your tandem, but I think Cade Stover and the rest of the receiving corps, some young guys like Carnell Tate and Brandon Innes, like this receiving room, like, no doubt about it, one of the most talented. Yes, McCord's not the greatest, but I think he's playing better. He looks better to me every single week, and that's something you really just want to see from a guy like this. Defensively, both these teams played really well, and that's kind of what the vibe of this game really going into it. It's kind of how I felt about it. I thought this was just going to be a lower scoring,
Mhm.
I thought the better defense was going to come away. And I think the better defense came away with this game. I
I would
think
agree.
that's really it's my true evaluation of it. There's just, and they didn't even have Denzel Burke, and Ohio State
Right.
was still able to get it done, which defensively they haven't been able to do for a significant amount of time, probably since Chase Young left. So
Yeah. I think as Penn State, looking at Penn State and how they decided to attack, they did not do this in a way of, it was not a balanced attack. And that's where I just was so confused because you have to take the ball. I'm not saying that Aller is not a great quarterback and doesn't have the potential to be, because I really do think this kid's going to thrive in the Big Ten. But he's in the shoe. This is the first time he's played this game. I get it. He was there when Clifford was there. But even then, the stakes weren't as high. This is a college football playoff game, especially with the news leading up to the week, knowing that there's a possibility Michigan, I mean, it's a large what if, but this Michigan really could get taken out of this conversation. And then the Big Ten could literally be between these two teams. So to think that they really said, Aller, take this game, like, it shows the trust in the kid, but I just don't understand the mindset behind that. You have two absolutely great running backs. Like Middleton and what's the other kid's name?
Kaytron Allen.
Yes. Both those kids have big playability, run hard, they average great yards per carry, and this is a run defense that is good. But I think if you come at them with a balanced attack and exploit the fact that they don't have Burke in the secondary, who is their best cover back, but then also be able to show, hey, because the run is what sets up Aller. You can't expect Aller to set the tone of the offense. Not at this level. This is a tough environment to play in, huge stakes for a young kid. And he hasn't shown that ability all year. So I didn't understand the attack, but once again, I agree with your take because Ohio State does have the better defense here. Ohio State is the most complete defense I've seen them have since the days of Bosa and Young, and like those defenses were very complete. But this is beginning to show that it's at that level. I don't think there's those big superstars, but they play as one cohesive unit.
Yeah, and Penn State, they did a terrible job of getting their run game to the second level, and that's partial to blame on the offensive line. But
Yes.
if you can get your 300-pound guys on Eichenberg and Chambers, the linebackers on Ohio State haven't been great at getting off blocks all season, right? And that's something they just failed to exploit. They went to Aller way too much. This is a kid who has not really had to play in a big time game, like Kyle McCord. Yeah, he has a big time game under his belt. He's a little bit more comfortable. Helps that he's at home as well, but he also got it done on the road too. So now McCord's just giving more and more game experience. Aller doesn't have that big game experience, right? And you have him throw 42 passing attempts. Like that just makes zero to little sense. It's not like if your passing game, like if you had 300 yards at like 25 attempts or something like that, like yes, keep going to your passing attack. Right. But you're not down big in this game whatsoever. Like there's never a point where this wasn't going to come away. And I think a crucial point in this game was having Kalen King on that holding on the outside on Marvin Harrison. While that scoop and score, like that could be the difference right there. We could have this being an overtime game if it's 20-20. But
you got to understand too, Kalen King, he kind of has to do that, man.
Right. No, but that's
how good Marvin Harrison is.
This is going to get to my point. In games like this, the little things matter so much. The repetition, knowing what you're going against, your schematics, your preparation for the game, what you think, what everyone's job has to be. That was just poor. I think it was just poor execution at every level from Penn State.
They let the moment get so big, and it's just like they were in control. They were in the driver's seat, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that in terms of like score or anything, but you are witnessing that Ohio State can't get the big play. The big play did not happen on either side. But to know that you can limit the big play and that they're going to have to go to the short passing, that's a moment in time where you let them get 5 yards, but you keep everything in front of you. And they were playing that perfectly. But offensively, it's like, get Allen and Middleton going, man. Just win. Keep the ball out of McCord's hands. Keep the ball out of Marvin Harrison's hands in terms of not, literally when he's on offense, but keep the ball on keep offensive possession. control the possession time. And that's how you win these games that are just going to be defensive showdowns. And that's what it was. But it really makes me begin to question the legitimacy and just the actual like coaching ability of James Franklin and this Penn State staff. Like, I really think this guy can't win the big game.
We've seen it time and time. Like,
they've had every opportunity to beat this team too. Like, they've had the opportunities on way better Ohio State teams to beat these guys with way better quarterbacks at the helm, and they just seem to never be able to do it. It sucks. It sucks to watch because every year we seem to talk about Penn State and like they have these one or two really, really good players like they did in Barkley and they did in, even kids like oh my gosh.
Parker Washington,
Parker Washington, Jahan Dotson.
Yeah.
Who's the other kid that got drafted from this area? He never panned out to be anything. Went to the Broncos. Oh my gosh. Where's number one? KJ Hamler. That kid was a big play. That guy was a big play guy. And then even Kalen King on this defensive team. And
right. I mean, even Chop Robinson's going to be a guy. Singleton and Allen are going to probably be professional running backs. Like, this is a team with a lot of talent. They got a lot of talent across the board.
Micah Parsons. How can we forget about that kid? And these kids just never got to play in the big games. It's what we're seeing with Caleb Williams too. It's just like you want as a fan to see these guys play in the biggest stage. And the coaching it's the coaching, because like we just said, we just named off so much NFL talent, legit NFL talent. These guys just can't get it done.
I think that keeps it very. I think that's just a good way to go out and our thoughts.
And the last point I'll make is, I think both of these teams have a lot of holes in their teams, but I think Penn State, you more have to worry about them getting. I mean, I get it; it's at home, but I truly think Michigan could dominate this team because that's the next big game for both of these teams.
And Michigan's going to know all their signals too.
Yeah, there we go. Hey, you can let these rip. We don't know that. We don't know if they know this year's. But anyways, but with Ohio State, it's like you actually don't know if there is as big of holes in this team as there is, because even if you want to talk offensively, what if Travion Henderson comes back and plays at his level? What if Abuka comes back and then that actually opens up the big playability for Marvin Harrison, where he doesn't have to do so much of the, hard run after the catch type stuff? I think Ohio State is in a pretty good spot. I would actually be very content as a fan right now, knowing that you were able to slip away with that win off of very good defensive performance and just a couple big plays from Marvin Harrison. But if I was a Penn State fan, I'd truly be worrying about the future of this team, because honestly, if this leads to James Franklin getting maybe fired, maybe let go,
they're not going to fire him just yet. His buyout's way too big.
I hear you. It's maybe not so much a worry about Franklin leaving. Maybe not so much a worry about Franklin leaving, but a lot of players losing their trust in him and seeing guys like do we see Aller go to a bigger school that has a better job opening that is going to put him in the place to play in these big games and prove himself and actually develop to an NFL talent? Because that's the other thing. The Big Ten doesn't get easier after this year.
Yeah.
The teams might weaken, some of these teams, but the addition of the Pac-12 teams, man, you just wonder. It's
gonna be interesting to see how this all plays out and
absolutely
who's gonna enter the transfer portal.
Exactly. We're getting into our second favorite season, and that it goes college football season, regular season, and playoffs concluded, and then it's the transfer portal season.
And then it's March Madness, and then this summer gets very boring. Anyways, what to expect with Texas now that Quinn Ewers is out? They sneak away with the win against Houston, a little controversial there at the end. The spot's different. That we might have seen an upset from Houston, which has been a team that's been very up and down this season. Yeah. I guess how to ask this way, how valuable is Quinn Ewers to this Texas team in your opinion?
We saw it last year in the Alabama game, but then we saw him come back and we kind of questioned it. But then again, you also had to remember this kid was 18 years old, big stage, right? He didn't really have a lot of football experience. He hadn't played a lot of football in the past 2 years. This year, this kid is the most valuable player on that team. He has emerged as a leader completely. This is night and day compared to the kid we saw last year. He is more mature. He makes better decisions. He performs when the spotlight is on him. So for Texas to lose this kid, and not only that, but the guy that they have to go to, I think Malik Murphy is a good college football quarterback. I don't know about Arch Manning. I don't want to give any takes on him because I really don't have anything to base it off of besides the fact that his last name is Manning. But Malik Murphy cannot get this team to the playoff. Does he have the pieces around him? Sure. But once again, back to my point, back to your question, Quinn Ewers provides more value to this team on the field in terms of not just play, but his voice and his ability to rally these guys, get behind this kid. That right there is going to take a step back. That we're going to see how valuable he really is when Malik Murphy has to take over a full game, especially because as all the reports I've read from Pete Thamel, there is no timetable for return. He's possibly done for the season. And this team is a Big 12 championship to go win and a possible playoff spot to secure. And you just look at this and you're like, this is exactly like any other kid goes out. I still have faith, but Quinn is that valuable.
I mean, maybe if Jonathan Brooks goes out, I don't know. I think he's also
True.
very valuable asset on this team.
I agree.
My assessment is that Malik Murphy got a lot of hype and a lot of people thought like, hey, this kid should be starting at a different school that, also could be competing for a conference, maybe even a national championship.
Yeah.
This guy, how do I put this? He's got Joe Milton energy to me.
So exactly what I was going to say, Joe Milton energy, but I actually almost wanted to redo that and say maybe he's got Hooker energy, Hendon Hooker, because I think his potential is, I think he could flash the ability to actually be a good passer, or at least be a good runner and have some dual threat ability. Maybe Milroe is a better comparison than Hendon Hooker because Hendon Hooker actually had success, and we're seeing Milroe start to get into his own.
Yeah.
But the Joe Milton comparison right now is accurate because he's a ball of potential that is got the most upside in terms of physical ability. And
let's see. I'm very excited to see how Malik Murphy plays, right? Because he's a guy that in the spring game, like I said, a lot of buzz. You argue that he could be starting for an Oklahoma State or a team of that caliber, right? Like right now. And I'm very excited to see how it gets utilized because Texas's schedule, it's not necessarily something you really have to be oh my gosh, they have a tough game against Kansas State, which that will basically determine, as long as they finish out the rest of their schedule the way they're supposed to see if they're going to be in the Big 12 championship or not. Yeah. And
I think the schedule actually plays perfect to this because the question that we actually have on the screen is, what does Texas look like without Quinn Ewers? So this gives them a great opportunity to figure out Malik Murphy without probably getting punished for it. And what I mean by that is figure out how he works and how he fits in this offense. Do we have to let him run the ball to set up his ability to pass? How do we get this kid confident? How's his chemistry with our starting receivers? Because, they get that in practice. But once again, when you're thrown into the game, man, everything looks different. Everything feels different. Guys are running at different speeds. So how is his chemistry with A.D. Mitchell and Xavier Worthy? They have kind of a schedule that just lets them almost like a preseason for the kid. Like a very bad non-conference schedule is what you could compare it to. And they're going to have this ability to do that. And like you said, as long as they beat Kansas State, they're going to have an opportunity to win the Big 10 or the Big 12 conference championship, which then would throttle them right into the playoff. It's just, is this kid, does he find this rhythm in 4 weeks? Do they figure him out in 4? How does he actually play? It's just, there's so many question marks. Is this kid as good as we think he is? We're gonna be able to answer this question really good. This question specifically, really good in probably after the Kansas State game. I'd say give it 2 or 3 weeks.
And I mean, maybe because like I said, there's no timetable recovery on Ewers. Maybe he's back. I wouldn't say by the Kansas State game, but by the time the season's over and they're going to play for.
And that's such a good point too, because knowing the competitive nature of Quinn Ewers, if this kid can feel the shoulder, is it throwing hand? Or
It's
is it
the
left?
same injury that he had last year.
Yeah, and I don't remember which one that was. I actually want to look that up. But either way, this kid's competitive nature is truly something that is really high on what a lot of NFL scouts, when they look at him and they put on on his draft board. So in terms of saying that, this kid, he sees, okay, Texas is in a position where we can win, and maybe Malik is not. They're just slipping by. Yeah, you see this kid suit up. You see this kid try and make a comeback.
Yeah,
Now
and
Malik Murphy's
maybe
fine. He probably steps back and says, okay, because remember, this is his draft year.
right. Unless
Was
I don't know.
you actually wonder. I actually really wonder.
Because this is a legitimate question. NFL scouts, they don't want to draft an already prone to injury quarterback, right? This is the second
the same
time.
shoulder.
Yeah, and this is something that's actually has me very curious. Will he stay for his fourth year if he's out for the whole season? Because it's not like he's going to go any higher by sitting out with an injury, right? And there's plenty of other very good quarterbacks coming into this draft class that I think everyone's stock has tanked a little bit, except for JJ McCarthy's. And we'll get into that funny business. But no, seriously, and this would also lead to me, if Uwer stays, I would really like to see Malik Murphy, because I think in a system that he has the keys to, you give him the Lamborghini and give him the keys, only knows what he's going to do with it. Because Malik Murphy, he's got the promise. He's got the arm too. People don't know he does have the arm.
Yes. Physical ability. The
little bit I've seen, I really like how he moves in the pocket. He's very, I guess, he's athletic, right? But
he just looks under control.
Yeah.
It's not wasted movement. You watch guys like Milton, you watch guys like Milroe. There's a lot of wasted movement. There's a lot of panic too. Now, yes, we only really have seen this kid in spring games and in garbage time, but I personally think this could all transfer very well. However, it's just
if McCord and Devin Brown don't figure it out, is this a kid that we see?
This is what I'm saying. This kid, this is only obviously if he plays bad, but I really think with the way the schedule sets up, the opportunity he's going to be given, the weapons around him. Remember, this kid isn't just walking into an offense that, you're just gosh, you're going to have to.
There's weapons.
He's got great weapons.
Tavion Sanders, Xavier Worthy, Jonathan Brooks,
Baxter
is another great
Mitchell.
This is a loaded offense with a good offensive line too.
And this is the perfect situation for him, man, because even if, like you said, the hypothetical theory is, or the hypothetical situation is, Quinn Ewers sits out and he's out for the season, and then he comes back. Now it's all right, well, I showed my talents. I showed that I, could play well in those 4 games, maybe even performs well. It doesn't really matter if he gets the win or not, because that's all doesn't decide on him, but plays well in the Big 12 championship. Now it's what team needs his talent? Where does he go in the portal? Does he go to a team like Ohio State? Does he go to a team like Michigan if their quarterback leaves? Does he go? Who knows? Who knows? Does he go to one of the Pac-12 teams? Or the Pac-12 transfer?
Does he go to a team like Auburn? Even Auburn needs a quarterback. And that's just the realm of possibilities.
This kid is going to get the keys if he plays well in these 4 games.
Wouldn't it be crazy if he went to Oklahoma though?
Dude, that's a cardinal sin. That's a cardinal sin, though, man.
We'll see what happens with all.
He'd get his head taken off in that next Red River Showdown.
He'd have the Lincoln Riley disease in that game. Yeah. Kidding. Hope you feel better, Lincoln. I really hope everything is all going well there. All right, let's move into another game. Alabama, Tennessee. Very disappointed how Tennessee got the lead in that game, and then they ended up just not being able to handle it, I guess. I think that's just the best way to put it. Alabama did get a defensive touchdown in this game, but still, Tennessee is just a big disappointment this year, right?
It's such a disappointment, man, because they were must-watch TV last year. Must-watch TV.
Oh, yeah.
I've never had more fun watching an SEC. That was one of the most fun SEC runs I've seen in a long time. Just high-powered offense. Guys, Jalen Hyatt was one of the most fun receivers to watch, especially in that Alabama game. And, to be more specific, that game, was so exciting. Yes, this game was high-powered offense and It was fun, but it's just like to see Tennessee just fall apart. Like it wasn't like they were just. It was a back and forth battle. Like Tennessee was winning this game handily. They were up 1 point, 20-7 at half, and then they scored 7. They gave up 27 unanswered. Actually, they gave up 27 unanswered points in the second half. Watch Jalen Milroe possibly have one of his best games. And this is not to discredit to Joe Milton, because
Milton
played great.
Yeah,
Milton had I think he had over 330 all-purpose yards.
Yeah, he had about 60 rushing yards, and then he had 330 actually on the dot.
Yeah,
so
it's like, dude.
I mean, Milton didn't play great in the second half, but his offensive line really, I think they just thought they had this game in cruise control and didn't think Alabama had the firepower to fire back and score all these points. And that's something we haven't really seen that from Alabama at all this season.
The question I want to present,
but I think it just proves that this Tennessee defense, they're really not that good.
No, it's not good at all. And like you just said, I think you are hitting the head on the nail with this whole notion that Tennessee basically said, maybe this team, we watched this team. They're not very good. They lost to Texas at home. They're doing uncharacteristic Alabama things. And then we saw Alabama come back, Alabama show up, just capitalizing after capitalizing. So my question actually is this a dark horse college? Is this a team we could see in the college football playoff?
My only problem is Alabama doesn't play complete games. If you watch every single Alabama game this season, and we'll see if because they're going to have to play a complete game next week. There's no doubt in my mind. Or not next week, but 2 weeks. They have a bye week this week, but 2 weeks from now, they're gonna have to play a complete game. Absolutely. And that's one thing that concerns me. Can this offense put a complete game together against a competent team? Right? We haven't seen it against Texas A&M. Didn't see it against Arkansas. Kind of saw it against Tennessee a little bit. We saw a really good second half, right? And I think that cleaned up for the stuff in the first half, but Jayden Daniels and that LSU offense is going to score points against Alabama. There is no doubt in my mind. Jayden Daniels,
but this is going to be the best defense Daniels has faced.
Right. But
trust me, I'm not. Jayden Daniels is on an absolute different level right now. It's not going to matter who you put in front of him.
Yeah. I think, seriously, if LSU, if they can complete their schedule out, make an SEC championship, be 11-2 going into Selection Sunday.
This is the first 2-loss team.
This would be the team, and I honestly don't know if they get it done because I don't think one thing
that's what I was just going to talk about too is we're about to really see the SEC and we're about to see what the SEC is like.
We see the Pac-12 and everyone beating up on each other, but the SEC, other than Georgia, is doing the same thing to each other.
But Georgia really, and we're gonna get into this.
We'll get into that. Yeah. We'll know.
We will know who Georgia is very soon, and it's very intriguing to watch, in my opinion, because.
But if
you want to talk about out pitches, they got the best one in the country, and that kid might be done.
Yeah. But if you get past LSU, the schedule's very favorable. You got Kentucky, Chattanooga, and Auburn. Auburn's a rivalry game, but Auburn, they had one good game in my opinion. They did give Ole Miss trouble. I think Ole Miss just is the Texas of the SEC in terms of playing down to competition. Yeah. I guess my assumption of this game is Tennessee's really not that good, and Alabama, they're one of those teams, and Nick Saban has been on the record saying this and everything. He loves coaching this team because there is a sorts of a progression, and we've seen it with our eyes. There's progressions throughout these teams that we're really liking and starting to see. I'm really intrigued if this team is an SEC championship. Can they beat Georgia? This if they had better running backs, honestly, I'd say yes, completely. But
absolutely,
that I think it's one of the weakest points on this team, and that really concerns me because against a team with a strong front seven and they actually can cover, which this Tennessee team, they have its decent front seven, but they're not going to cover for
Yeah,
shit.
it's
So,
I love that you noticed that comment though, because truly you want like we've watched Nick Saban's teams for the past however long this dynasty's been.
too
And
long.
you almost wonder, it's like, I mean, obviously those guys need to be coached, they need to be developed, but some of these kids have come in, man, and just been absolute superstars. And they're getting better because iron sharpens iron, and just the players around there are making better. You wonder if Saban, this is kind of like a breath of fresh air for him. This is kind of like a relieving type experience because he really does. We are truly like putting his test. These guys, this group is putting his coaching ability to the test because these guys do need more coaching than the last couple teams. Like Jalen Milroe needs more coaching than Bryce Young. And so just the talent isn't all there. They're not as ready, right? And we are seeing, like you just said, this team slowly progress. This team slowly develop, getting hot at the right time. That's what this game's all about, man. If you can survive the days of when your team is just figuring it out, you can rack up those tough wins against teams that you probably shouldn't be struggling with, but you are because your team is at that point where they're just not hitting their stride yet. Getting hot at the right time, especially right now, that's what like Saban's got to be losing his mind because he's always talked about that not only does he love this team, but he loves this defense. He said this is one of the best defenses he'll ever coach. He's ever coached in terms of just like complete cohesive units. And if he can get this offense figured out, these wide receivers starting to get hot, and hopefully somebody emerges in the run game. And honestly, I see that if I don't know, I'm not the coach, but if I was a betting man, you have to think Jalen Milroe is really going to start getting involved in this run game with the lack of just productivity from the running back. So
Yeah, and
it's a cool time because this Alabama team would be fun to watch make a run at Georgia and the playoff.
yeah, and I think honestly, like there's a lot of young guys in the receiving room on this team, and they've been able to develop as well. Offensive line starting to look better and better each week too, which is something that we were really concerned with this Alabama team, but I think it just shows that
Caden Proctor, man, as a freshman starting tackle, like, dude, that kid is unbelievable. He's going to be a first rounder, no doubt about it.
Yeah, and I think that every offensive line is just other than like Oregon and Michigan has like kind of sucked this year to begin with. So
for
I
sure.
think this is just a year of defensive studs, and we're gonna see a lot of guys just drafted in this.
This is going to be
draft.
like that draft where Walker and Hutchinson went 1 and 2, like just defense, like generational type.
But this is also there's a lot of talent on offense. It's just I think just defensive coordinators are getting smarter, and maybe they're just knowing the calls more. But
Dude, here we go, firing them away. Hey, I set myself up. I tossed it up to you, just having the Michigan stuff in the background.
Yeah. I'm Gerald Green with the alley-oop. Anyways,
exactly.
Speaking of next, we got Utah, USC. This game was actually a treat to watch.
Such a treat.
I was very impressed by the farm boy and Bryson Barnes. That was a great comment by Kyle Winningham.
Dude,
but
it was.
Did you see that? It was like they have a Heisman, we have a farmer.
Dude, it's great, man. I love Utah. And I love that game day's going there too because, dude, this team really is.
Oh yeah, no, this team
uber talented.
I don't think they match up well with Oregon, but I'll get into my thoughts on that tomorrow. But regardless, the game that they played on Saturday at the Coliseum, this Utah team,
dude,
they're This was
so entertaining.
This is weird because you don't expect Utah to be an entertaining team. Utah was entertaining on Saturday.
Yeah,
we're entertaining that this USC
Notre
team.
Dame. Let's just shout out you, Notre Dame. You broke Caleb Williams. This kid is broken. He doesn't know what he's doing. This kid's throwing passes, man, and the ball's not even coming out. I don't know where this kid's head's at. I don't know what, like.
Well, okay, it doesn't help that no one wants to block on his team.
No,
right?
Like that's what I'm saying. When I say that like, he broke him, I'm not saying like, oh, this kid's not. He's talented enough, but like his team broke him too. Like his line broke him. His defense broke him.
Just realizing that like maybe this is just this was the wrong decision. Maybe I should have stayed at Oklahoma.
Yes.
Maybe I shouldn't have followed Lincoln. And yeah, you can say that he might never ever regret. Lincoln's probably developed this kid to be where he's at today. So that's a testament to
I don't
Lincoln's
know. He was a
quarterback.
5-star. He's number one in his class. You wondered how much raw talent did this kid actually have that, and
Yeah,
how
but we
much of it's
saw him as a
Lincoln.
freshman at Oklahoma. He was nowhere near perfect. Like
No. He and it also helps having Addison and Mims and all the guys he had, all the
yeah, no,
weapons he
and
had
I
at
mean he's
USC.
got guys on this team that are gonna be
Oh,
professional receivers
Branch,
too.
Washington. I mean, both those
Singer,
guys. Singer, yep.
Williams.
Yeah,
Like
dude, there's so many guys.
I
It's
think
just
this is just a misutilization of USC's run game. And yes, they don't block up front the greatest, especially in the red zone. But Marshawn Lloyd is one of the most talented running backs in the country. And we saw him get misutilized at South Carolina too. But this kid, like, he's only getting 7 carries. It pisses me off because this just is like, I get it. Utah's like front seven, like they're just a flat out very good defensive team. And there's just there's just no argument against that. USC struggles on offense and you don't glean on your ground game at all. You continue to force Caleb Williams, which I get it. He's probably the most talented quarterback in the country, if not top 3. But you keep going to this kid when he's already broken and winding down, and he's got a lot of.
It's like you wonder, do these guys realize that he is human? Like he does probably have.
We see it in the NFL all the time. Like Justin Fields gets hurt because he's just being used so much because he is literally.
That's the path this kid is on. Like
yeah,
truly,
no, he is
because
on,
they think he's superhuman.
But Justin Fields, like. At least he had success in the postseason. Like,
right.
But no, like, or at least, well, he got there and he won a game as well. But it's actually very comparable, especially because Justin Fields, I mean, yes, there was defensive guys on there, but I don't know. USC's defense, like, you do not need to be allowing 34 points to Utah. You literally had a safety coming in at running back, expose your pass defense and your run game along with Quinton Jackson. Like, Utah's a very good team. Whittingham, one of my favorite coaches. This is probably my favorite team to follow in college football other than Louisville, right? Which that's going to be a fun game.
I thought you were about to say this is your favorite. I was like, whoa.
No.
The cards already fell off.
No, the cards have not fallen off. They won't fall off for the rest of the year. I'm still going to be a believer. They're a bowl team. So that's something I can't say about, that behind me. But anyways, I don't like watching this USC team as much as I did probably 3 weeks ago. I don't have high of opinions. Like, I don't think this team should be ranked by any means. Like, their best wins against Colorado or Arizona. And while I do believe Arizona is better than their record shows,
do you think USC deserves to be unranked?
Yeah, for sure.
It's a hot take.
What have they shown? What have they shown?
No, it's true, man. Because now you really understand. Like, the question comes out about, well, what is this team without Caleb? We see it. They showed it.
This would not nothing. Seriously, like, this team would be fighting for a bowl spot. Like, their win total would be 6.5 probably if they didn't have Caleb Williams.
It shows that kid, and they still can't. Like, this is how bad this team is. They place the best. Like this is like the whole conversation. If we took a mediocre team and threw the best player on it, what would they look like? This is the example, and it's like they're so bad that they throw the best player on and they can't even get it. They can't get conference championships, and they can't get to a bowl, or they can't get to a playoff.
I think there is some talent though that's really good on this team. I think the skilled players on offense are very they're not the best skilled players in the country, but there's day 1, day 2, and day 3 picks on here.
Yes,
I don't think there's I don't think it's that. I think that the offensive line, which arguably is one of the most important groups, if not the most important group in football. I don't know if they suck or if it's just an effort thing and they hate that Caleb Williams is getting all the hype and they're not. But you don't have a reason to give hype, right? Like this, seriously, this USC offensive line is terrible. Yeah. And then the defense, they don't play good either.
No,
they're very.
When I said they don't play as one, I meant like they don't play as one cohesive unit. Like they do not. This team does not gel well together.
And there's talent on the defense too. Like Caleb Bullock. Mason Cobb, Jalen Smith, Gentry. Like, there is talent on this defense. Bear Alexander. I think it's just.
It's Colorado, man. Think about it. Colorado's the same way.
I don't think it's that. I think it's your point with James Franklin. Misutilization.
Yes. And we've already covered that, man. Lincoln Riley's a problem. This guy does not have the right guys in place, and I really question his ability as a head coach. The guy, not only just his decisions and the X's and O's department, but he's still giving this defensive coordinator should be gone.
Well, it's weird because he does not make any of the players available. And I heard, shout out to Cover 3, the beat writer for USC, who's been covering the team for 15 years, said it's really weird that players are not allowed to go to the press conferences after the game to talk with the media.
Mm-hmm. Telling you, man, there's this locker room. I can't imagine it. I really can't. And this coach.
This is going to be this is one of those. This, even though Lincoln stays or not, I feel like we see a lot of these guys leave. I think
1,000%.
I think that there just needs to be. They need to take the Roomba, clean everything up.
There you go.
That's a great
reference.
Just get this all cleaned up.
You just got to figure this out, man.
You got to clean house.
I don't see USC like completely spiraling.
Well, no, I don't think this is. I don't think this is going to be like, they're not going to have the fall of Nebraska, but
no, this
is like, I think if they want to be elite and really, there needs to be some. I think they're just going through an identity crisis right now. I think that's the best way to put it. Mm-hmm. This team does not have an identity whatsoever.
They're going to have a hard time getting recruits outside of the skill positions, but
are they really though? Like, they're in California, like it's beautiful weather.
No, I agree with that, but again, it's like they're in the Big Ten now, which is also going to change a little bit of the dynamic of like, yeah, you're going to probably play in some pretty crappy weather and yada yada if you want. If you don't
but you're also going to be playing arguably at the highest level of football.
No, exactly. It's just, I think they're going to have a hard time recruiting non-skill position players until they can show changes. And that could literally come like that. The second they say, "Hey, we're going to get a new D coordinator," you're going to get great edge rushers. You're going to get interior guys, linebackers.
I think this is going to be. I think if you're USC and Duke did a good job of this, Texas has kind of done a good job of this. Utilization of transfer portal guys on defense.
Yep.
I think that's just the way you got to go. You got Bear Alexander and you got Mason Cobb, but like. Seriously, like more than half your guys might have to be through the transfer portal. Like if you're gonna have starters,
dude, this thing is the greatest.
It's not. Open. Yeah, it's. I don't know. We'll. I guess we're just gonna have to wait and see because USC's. They're basically after this episode. Like I don't know how much we really talk about them. Like until the off season. So.
Right, because either we're gonna see Caleb Williams do it. I mean, what he might do, and that is sit out. Or he's just gonna be playing at a mediocre level.
Yeah, he's really not gonna be playing for anything. He's taking a step down. He's taking the escalator down back to the first.
Like we're not gonna see this guy in New York. Like that's just not gonna happen. Which is fine. He already got his trophy.
But my thing is to Caleb Williams is he's literally done everything possible. What does he have to prove at this point?
Exactly. And the only thing that it shows the only questions it answers about the kid if he does sit out is that this team is not gelled. There's no chemistry, and that he might actually be a little more selfish than people were trying to give him credit or trying to like say he wasn't. And that's fine. That's fine because in the NFL, they're all the divas still, make money.
Still exist.
And they still exist, but they still make money and teams still want them around. That's not going to be a problem.
I think Caleb Williams has just done everything to this point. Because this is it'd be different if like USC didn't have any expectations other than Caleb Williams being good. But this was supposed to be a college football playoff team.
Yeah, and you don't make the college football playoff off one player.
You don't. This is a freaking team game. There's 22 guys there's 22 guys that play on both sides. Like
and we talked about at the beginning of this thing. You win this national title winner, like whoever is the national championship this year, it's one of the most legit national titles you'll ever get because this is one of the unless Michigan gets it and it just asterisk. But what I'm just saying is like whoever does end up winning this thing, as long as it's not Michigan, as sad as that is to say, it's a legit one because the competition from 1 to 15, man, is great. Like there's so many great teams. So many great teams that aren't even ranked.
And all these conferences are super deep as well.
Super deep, man.
Like,
and the fact that you don't make the conference championship as a 10-2 team, like LSU might not, but that still probably would hold their own in the playoff. That's why it's getting expanded.
Yeah.
But like we said, you win this 4-team one. In my opinion, it's one of the most legit ones as long as you're not sign stealing.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make jokes about it because it's the only coping mechanism at this point. We'll talk about it more. Don't you worry.
We'll get
a lot
into
prepared.
it. Yeah, we'll get into it. Florida State Duke is the next game we got to talk about. This game was honestly like, if Riley Leonard plays this whole thing
at maximum health, they'd probably lose.
What, Duke would lose or Florida State?
No, Florida State.
Yeah, okay, I was gonna say
this
Duke was up
State
in this
team
game.
Is not good.
And Riley Leonard was rolling, even being hurt. I really wish, like, I hope we get a rematch of this because that would be something I'd pay for. Like, I'd go to that game. Like,
oh, dude, because Duke is such a cool story because not only are they were like some underdog school that just never really they're not one of the blue bloods, right? But Riley Leonard's a great talent. But it's like this team is actually so complete. Like this defense is so good, and they put that on full display.
Dude,
it's hard when you don't have offensive production.
Is one of the he's a solid running back for sure too.
Oh, absolutely, man. That's what I'm saying. This is a complete football team from. Like all 22 guys play super well together. With Riley Leonard at the helm, this team is dangerous. This team will knock off ranked teams left and right. And we did not get to see that sadly when they played both of the two best teams that they'll play all year.
Yeah, and I mean it sucks that Beelan, there's like Riley Leonard is the best player on this team. He's the best player listed on this roster. You see the impact from when he's in. He doesn't even play great statistically, but the impact he has being at the helm, like I think all the guys just buy in and trust him on offense.
Yes.
And then when Beelan comes in the game, it's like, oh, we forgot like what football is completely about. We don't know what to do. You score 0 points in the second half when Leonard comes out of the game. Like there is such a significant difference. His impact level, and NFL teams really better be watching this because this kid is really legit.
Oh, this is a locker room piece at the least.
Yeah,
this is a great locker room addition.
He might not be the greatest NFL quarterback because I don't think his style necessarily translate the greatest. But
he doesn't even have the Purdy style where it's like.
Well, I don't even know what to think of Brock Purdy after that game.
That kid was running around concussed.
Yeah,
like
some of the decisions that were made. No, but I also think that like. This was good for Florida State too. And they're kind of like Bama. They don't play a complete game, but they once again, even with some doubt in the back of people's minds, everything's not going according to game script. They still get it done, and they got this one done convincingly. I know Leonard comes out, but regardless, like this Florida State team's good, man. And I do believe that this might be one of the teams. They're probably going to come out of the ACC as champions. Like now that my thoughts on North Carolina have been reevaluated.
Yeah.
And I think they're good on both sides of the ball too. Like they shut down offenses when they need to and they get it done. I'm very excited to see what this team does.
This team's got such a high ceiling. Like you said, if they can play a complete football game like they did against LSU, we saw this fire.
They didn't even play a complete game against LSU.
But that's the most complete game they've played.
Yeah, I will agree on that.
So we see their capabilities, their ceiling. When will they put it together? Who knows? That's all up to the guys in that team and that coaching staff. However, when they struggle, man, when this team is not rolling, it's a struggle bus. They don't have anything that they can just go to and be reliant on that's just going to get them by. And as the later half of this season goes in November and going into December, man, you have to be at your best. You have to be firing at the most efficient rate you can be firing at because teams like Duke, teams like, I don't even know who they meet. And this is probably the team that they meet in the championship.
They finished this season actually very, very well. They play Wake Forest.
They play Forest, and then isn't it
Pitt? They've already played. Miami's a team that could get it done against them.
Absolutely. And then Florida, you just know that there's the possibility. Like,
I mean, I don't know. Florida State's run defense has really not been that good all season.
That's what I'm saying.
Florida's
and
one of
it's
those
in
teams.
The swamp.
Yeah. So we'll see. I mean, that doesn't really affect that really wouldn't affect their college football playoff chances if they still end up winning the ACC championship regardless. But
right, because this team luckily survived all of their
and I think that that's really good for them. They survived against LSU, Clemson, now Duke. You know, you have a convincing win. And it's over.
Yeah, I'm just talking even like the Boston College game. Like,
and I think, but this is kind of what I like from them. They played almost in every single situation now. And
Yep.
That's the thing that I really hate. Like, I've hated with Michigan, like, the past couple of years when they go into those big games because, they played on the big stage against Ohio State, and that's typically their hardest game, but they don't have, like, when Michigan gets off script in a big game, they kind of just throw their hands up, like, I don't know. They forget to steal the sign.
They can play off. They've shown that they can. They've shown they can play off script and make plays still against TCU. Like, McCarthy did come out and really, like, just was going off the rip, making plays happen. Yeah. But I just had this thought too. If we're going to talk about this team even just a little bit more, like, it actually scares me as a fan that. Shut up with your little smirk. I see. As a fan, it actually kind of concerns me that he hasn't played in the fourth quarter because you have to play complete games. Man.
Well, right, and
the endurance, like all of it, it's like how much. I can't talk about this team anymore. I'm going to just bite my tongue and bringing them up. This sucks. This is what you guys feel like? Is this what you MSU fans feel like? Gosh, this sucks.
What do you mean? Oh, yeah. No, never mind. Yeah.
Because you're just a joke. You're a meme now. Like, my freaking team is a meme.
We can go to Harper's and embrace our pain together.
There we go.
On the
campus of Michigan State.
One more game before we talk about what we've been laughing about throughout this podcast. UCF, Oklahoma, and we'll briefly mention the UVA, North Carolina games and the what was the other game? And Washington, Arizona State. Mm-hmm. But I watched this game and kind of to the thing with Riley Leonard, like, when UCF has John Rice Plumlee, this team is like, if Plumlee didn't play baseball at UCF, like, this kid would be playing on a bigger stage. And I mean, no discredit to UCF, but like, they're not going to have like the players to get and put guys around John Rice Plumlee to really maximize his potential. Like, Oklahoma's good. And yes, they don't have Andrew Anthony for the rest of the season either. So, but this receiving core is still good for Uke and Nick Anderson, Stoops. Like, there's still guys on this receiving core that I really like. I really do like their run game. But
I love their run game. Those guys run so hard, man. They're not getting talked about enough.
And I think, but like I said, Oklahoma, they've been a weird team all year. We're not. Most people in the country aren't convinced this is a college football playoff team. They're not like, this is a team that doesn't get talked about enough from it, even after beating a really good Texas team. And it's kind of games like this where you kind of leave your head scratching, like, what is the max potential? What is the highest ceiling? Like, are they a 30-foot story building, or do they have more floors to build upon? Yeah. Like, it's almost, it's really weird. And I see it. I think there's guys everywhere. I think their defense is legit enough too. So,
absolutely.
But this schedule, man, like, you're going to get some tests throughout the next 3 weeks. I think in the next 3 weeks, maybe not so much West Virginia because you had that game at home, but Kansas and Oklahoma State, especially Oklahoma State, because they're pissed that you're going to the SEC and this might not be a rivalry game anymore.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to be interesting to see.
It's going to be. The casual college football fan watches Oklahoma play for the first time against Texas, and they see Dylan Gabriel have the performance he does, and they're like, holy cow, this kid's unbelievable. Put him in the Heisman conversation, like, throwing his name around like he's some god. And I just, like, with fans like us who've watched pretty much this kid play, watched this team play all year, followed them all year, we knew that was like a very fluky, like, oh
It
wow,
wasn't
that
fluky. It was it was the best game you're ever going to see from him.
Exactly. It was the cherry on top of his freaking career. Like, he will talk about the game for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
He actually is not that good. He's not going to consistently come out with that.
He's a fine college quarterback.
Yep, fine college quarterback, but this is, once again, like you just said, this is not a team that plays in the college football playoff. This is not a team capable of it. I think if Quinn Ewers comes back or never gets hurt, they don't beat Texas again. Because Dylan Gabriel played the greatest game of his entire football career,
and Texas
Quinn Ewers arguably played his worst.
Yeah,
this season.
They had 3 turnovers in that game. Yeah, like what we said when we talked about it not too long ago. I said this is probably going to be the worst performance from Texas, and it was still only a 4-point game. And yes, Oklahoma's still a really good football team. I think they're still a top 10 team, but there's levels to this, man. And
there is. That's such a great saying.
When you're on the highest level, you don't get into a situation where it comes down to a 2-point conversion against the team. Yes, Rice Plumlee, like if he played for Oklahoma, it'd be very fun to watch. But that's just not the case here. UCF's not a very good team. We've seen it throughout the season. They blew a 28-point lead to Baylor. Or was it the other way around? I can't remember.
Either way, I know what you're trying to say.
Yeah, they blew that lead to Baylor. I was correct. Yeah. Okay. Like, they're coming off losses. They came off losses to Kansas State, Baylor, and Kansas. And you still let them fight. And yes, they don't have Reese Plumlee. And I think, I seriously, like, Reese Plumlee, one of the most underrated kids in college football. Like,
yes.
If
you have not watched this kid's highlights or watched this kid
UCF was a top 25 team last year, and it was specifically because of him, Harvey,
watch this kid play.
Bowser.
He's ridiculous.
Yeah, like the UCF backfield is really freaking good. So
he's a great baseball player too.
Yeah,
great baseball player.
But
I don't have much else to say about this other than that. Like, I still don't think they make the playoff. I don't. I think this team is gonna slip up.
Yeah, I mean, and they still got a big if voters see, like, it depends really if they do make the Big 12 championship game, which it's more likely that they're going to than they're not.
Yeah, I don't think they slip up twice. I think KU.
I'm saying it really, like, if they were to lose that game, it really would have to show if they get freaking steamrolled and Texas just, like, Xavier Worthy has like 300 receiving yards and like Quinn Ewers just has the game. No, it's going to be
Malik Murphy.
I mean, Malik Murphy.
How about the Manning kid? Let the Manning kid go out there and do it.
No,
he ain't good. Not only do I not like.
I'm a very big Arch Manning hater personally. So.
Yeah, I'm not a hater. I am. I don't think a kid in that spot of his athletic caliber is not going to get it done.
It just pisses me off that he gets a perfect grade because I seriously don't believe he's that good.
Come on, nepotism is real, man, everywhere, and this is one of the biggest forms of it.
Yeah, he's not going to be Shedeur. That's my.
No, and it's the same thing. Like, I'm not even going to get into basketball right now, but it's the same thing with freaking Bronny.
Yeah,
Bronny.
No, that's exactly how it is.
Exactly.
Bronny's good though. Bronny is good, but
Bronny's a good basketball player. But like the fact that his name is even getting tossed around with LeBron, it's like, shut up, please. Like,
Bryce might be better too. Speaking of LeBron, dude, that game yesterday pissed me off with the nugget. Dude,
I was gonna comment on the hat. I had to.
Nikola Jokic is so good, man. I've actually been watching the start of the NBA season. It's been very entertaining.
Wow, I forget you're an NBA fan.
Yeah, Kristaps, crazy. Yeah, I mean, same things with Arizona State and Arizona State and Washington. That game, I think it's just a big fluke. I think that.
Do you think it's a fluke? Because Joel Klatt made a great point, and I want to bring up.
I think it's just a hangover effect at this point. Like,
yeah, that's kind of what Joel said.
Yeah, I think that's honestly what it really is. I think that they also just didn't realize that Arizona State had a pulse defensively and can play football. Mm-hmm. Like, I think they came out with the win at the end of the day. That's all I really care about. unlike the North Carolina team, which if I was Drake May, I would be very pissed at my receiving room.
I'd be pulling the plug on the season and just say, I've proved myself. Let's get ready.
I'll go train in Dallas. I'll go play with other guys.
Like, as much as I hate to say that because you don't like to see the big name superstars in the game sit it out, it's just like you also want to see these kids play in the NFL.
Drake,
you don't want to watch a Jake Butt situation or just like a situation where these kids get hurt and then they tanks their career.
Like, we say it with Caleb, and if I was Drake May, I'd be pissed. Your receivers just like he had like a 50-something completion percentage, but that's not his fault whatsoever. I think there were so many drops. Like, if some of these passes are on target or completed, and like this is going to really bring up the conversation of should he have transferred to Alabama or another big games or big name school in the offseason?
Yeah. That question is going to loom over his head for a long time, looking back on his college career.
But
once again, nobody's going to talk about it because as long as that kid plays well in the NFL, his time at UNC will be forgotten.
Yeah, and I think it won't be forgotten by us, by the casual football fan.
Yeah.
And I'm one of the biggest Drake May fans.
Because people don't think about this. Nobody talks about, at least like you said, the casual football fan, the people that really don't watch college football in depth. Nobody talks about the college career of Patrick Mahomes. But dude, that kid was unreal.
Yeah, no, he was. If he didn't
go off, like normal college football fans would not have remembered the showdown between him and Baker Mayfield. One of the highest stat game. Like that only blew
nobody cares about no one cares about Baker's college career. No one cares about Kyler Murray's college career. No one even cares about Justin Fields.
It's talked about a little bit more than Patrick Mahomes, but it just shows that it really does matter what you do when you play on Sundays. And as long as you get there and can perform at that level. But if he doesn't, it will loom over his head for the rest of his life. What if that kid played at a bigger school?
Yeah, just like what if Zach Wilson never made an off-platform throw in a pro day? What if Michigan never stole signs? Speaking of sign stealing, what the hell is happening in Ann Arbor? Robby,
this is a dumpster fire. This is an absolute dumpster fire, ladies and gentlemen. For all you fans out there that are Michigan fans, especially as big of one as me, this is catastrophic. Jim Harbaugh will never coach, in my opinion, at the University of Michigan ever again after this. And that is not because Ward Manuel fires him. That is because I think he truly is hit his point, hit his limit. He's done with the NCAA because even if they don't complete this investigation or it comes out to be not as bad as they think, the NCAA is kind of after this guy for right reasons. He speaks out against it a lot. He does a lot of things that are very questionable. He loves to, enter into the gray area in terms of the rule book. And he loves to point out the fact that, they're cheating in recruiting and yada, yada. And so this is his way of kind of countering that. He's like, I'm not going to cheat in that sense, but I'm going to find my loopholes. I do not like, though, as a fan, and I'm going to be very blunt and honest because I'm a true fan of this game, not just of a team. If he comes out and says in the press conference, I have of no knowledge that there's been any illegal sign stealing, and the rumors are true that they have found that there's a budget for this, that other coaches are talking about this, that they're sending interns out. I'm sorry, but if Harbaugh doesn't know about that, I don't know how much I believe of that. But even if it's true, it is your responsibility as the head coach of a football program to know what's going on with your other staff members. So that's embarrassing. And the most embarrassing part, man, is just like you built something that everybody came to watch. Michigan fans are at an absolute peak. 2021 was one of the greatest moments I can remember as a Michigan fan because I went through the eras of Brady Hoke and Rich Rod and just
team, like this decade Michigan has been, or
no, it's this decade, yeah.
Well, yeah. This decade, the 2020s, other than the COVID season, Michigan's been a very good team throughout so far their history.
Yeah, it's just
10 years ago, when you have guys like Devin Gardner playing, and Devin Gardner does great stuff for Big Ten. I'm not going to discredit him. But
shout out to that guy.
In terms of his play with Michigan and everything that went up.
Man, we were watching Shane Morris, freaking Devin Gardner. We were watching
Shea Patterson.
He's all right. But like Wilton Spate, like just guys like that. It's like the last good memory I had was Denard. And
Very pleasant to
to
learn.
think about that is just like then the little moments that like Jabril Peppers had, but even then it just wasn't as good because they weren't success. There's so much success right now, and it's like, wow, we're looking at a team, we're looking at a season right now. JJ McCarthy's the leading odds getter for the Heisman. We're the leading odds getter to win the national championship. Like the whole thing is falling apart in the right way. Like the cookies crumbling our way, and then it's like, and I follow this team be so much more than probably a lot of true fans think. And I'm on Reddit, and there's an Ohio State insider who called out when I think it was when Ohio State had their big issue, or somebody had an issue, and he's like, hey, like, I got one of these nuggets again. Something's going to come out about Michigan that's going to completely destruct or like just deconstruct this program and just take away a bunch of validity to everything they've been doing. Read that 2 days before it happened, did not say anything of it. I'm like, oh, Ohio State hater, right? Then this comes out. So there was the anxiety, and then the anxiety came true. And then we were seeing that, the results of Connor Stallion maybe being this is a solo act. Maybe he actually, maybe Harbaugh didn't know.
Well,
Maybe this guy's a psychopath when the 550-page document comes out about Michigan's manifesto. And then the new evidence. And it seems like it's almost every hour the Washington Post release that they found everything on the computer. And you're just like, holy cow, this is getting worse. Apparently there's new stuff coming out tomorrow that's going to be even worse. As a fan, I'm embarrassed. I can't defend this because even if, and I'm not saying that Michigan's wins against Ohio State, Penn State, and success overall is all because of sign stealing, because if you truly think about it, you still got to play the game.
Right, and
And
that's
they
what
only
that's
have
exact.
2 big
And
wins.
I love Deion Sanders' comment. Like, you can mail me your game plan, and I still have to go on the field, or my players still have to go on the field and get it done against you.
Did you hear his comment about Michael Irvin and Emmitt Smith?
I did
He
not.
said, man, you knew we were handing the rock off to Emmitt Smith. You knew Michael Irvin was running the comeback route. He said, you still got to stop it. He said, I can tell you what's coming. You still got to stop. And that's true. It's very true. But that's not what I'm talking about. You're taking away the integrity of the game, man. Like, you just lost all validity. You are now a meme. We just ruined this. Like, in my opinion, if this goes to the state of the Big Ten doesn't allow us to play in the game, which I don't know if that happens, but Harbaugh's gone after this. Recruits aren't going to want to come to this because their parents are going to really question how much this success does matter upon the. It leaves so many question marks, and it just kills me because it's like this thing was about to be built into an apps. This was the beginning of a dynasty that we're never going to get to see, in my opinion.
And it's going to be a 30 for 30, and there's going to be a lot of documentaries that come along with this in about 5 years. We're going to see the untold.
Yep.
And this, like, it's a crazy situation, and everyone's going to look back on this in about 10 years and be like,
this was either the thing that like we're gonna laugh at, like with the Astros, and say, ha ha ha, can you remember the times when we thought that the Astros were only good because they were stealing signs, and then they won the World Series and everyone shut up about it? Or are we gonna look back in 10 years and be like, holy cow, remember when they were stealing signs and Harbaugh finally was good, and then now look at them, like they still have yet to recover. We're in the same position as Michigan State.
Be very successful with the Bears. I don't know what you're talking about,
dude. This brings me into my next point. Like, how do you recover from this? Like, if he's coming out and he's really lying, what NFL team wants that? Who wants this guy right now? Not because of his ability, but dude, he is carrying, like, this is diva material.
Yeah.
Like, you carry a bad, it's just not good. It's just so bad, man. And I feel for these players because now you question player ability.
I question the fact of what is the true punishment and what's really going to come out of this.
Yes.
And if the Michigan wants to at least finish out this season, what are they going to have to do with Big Ten Commissioner Patini, get everything figured out? Because if they really want to finish the season and not have any problems with, like, fan bases and boosters and everything like that coming from other teams and people supporting and funding the Big Ten, what is going to be the for now punishment? Like, what coordinator is going to have to get let go? What guy is basically going to take one for the team?
So if in my opinion, if Harbaugh doesn't go and truly bleeds maize and blue as much as he claims he does, which if he does, you will ride this thing out with this team. You will rise with this team and you will fall with this team. But so if he does that, everyone that's in on that, and if he does not know anything about it, everyone that's in on this Google Drive shared thing where they're all talking about it, funding it, whatever, all those guys got to go. And you can't put a limit or a what if on, if it's Sharon or no. Every one of them's got to go, because that's showing, hey, I'm taking responsibility. I'm taking ownership that I did not take when I did not know this was going on. And then in my opinion, the second thing is you just got to, like, the most important thing now, win the whole fucking thing. Win the whole thing.
Yeah, I said, this is the last. It's just got to be a last dance. That's what it's got to be.
You got to win this thing. You cannot lose, and you got to win convincingly. Like, you have to show.
Shout out to Josh Pate, by the way. I really liked his comment on that.
Yeah, dude, like, come out and just do you got to win the national championship. I don't care. At that point, it doesn't matter if an asterisks put next to it, if you get it vacated. To show that at least shows character, it shows heart, and that's how you still win these recruits over. But
I mean, you still have all the signs.
Yeah.
Everyone's
going to change them.
And this is going to promote a very different this is going to promote a big thing, especially with the big dogs in college football, because the argument against this is that the radio comms inside the helmets, the only reason why they haven't done it is, one, because all these other coaches are doing it as well. Michigan's just kind of taking the heat for it, and they want the dumbest
possibility that this could come out about.
Yeah. I mean, my thing is that Michigan was just very dumb how they went about it. Like, they kind of made everything.
We don't know that yet, because this is the whole problem with all of this, is that Michigan is such a polarizing character in the terms of college football that of course Ohio State players are going to come out and say, yeah, we knew this was happening. And the other part about it is that Jim Harbaugh is such a polarizing figure in college football. I think it's been commented on multiple times that this guy does not have a lot of friends in the coaching area, in the coaching world, right? So the rumors going around right now, and I'm going to preface this once again, these are all rumors, but that this was an inside job, that guys like Josh Gaddis could have released this, guys like any inside guy that's gone around, they're even saying maybe, like, these are rumors, but like Ward doing
allegedly doing it, and it's allegedly against the bylaws, so they do kind of have to conduct an investigation on it. But like I said, they're just the only team that's got caught doing this.
Exactly.
And honestly, that's kind of like, you're not going to probably, because I mean, we probably know with the Astros, like, there's plenty of other teams that, we're probably doing it in the MLB for years.
We figured out that the Red Sox were doing it, and that Cora, and so then you can start.
But it's starting to lead the change, and that's what I hope what comes with it.
Yes, what Matt Rule talked about.
Yeah, this is what's got to happen, and the only reason why it hasn't is what I was getting at to earlier. Every other coach is doing it as well, or mostly, if you're a big-time program, every other coach is doing this as well. You're in those meeting rooms being like, yeah, this is a good idea, but when you have the athletic directors go talk to the commissioners and the people running running the funding and making the rules and, getting all these things into place, you tell them, I don't know if we really want this, because, everyone just loves to steal signs, I guess. I guess it's just I guess it's what they like for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I don't know, but well, it's because they're in. I was listening to Danny Cannell talk about this a little bit, and he's like, so it would be a nice, beautiful day, and we'd go practice in the bubble because we were worried that someone across from the hotel of the practice facility was watching us run practice and trying to steal our plays. Like, it's just been a big problem. If you listen to a lot of people that have been inside of the college football or just the football world in general at the higher levels, like, you're so worried that these guys are coming over and watching your practices and trying to gather intel, because everyone wants that competitive advantage and everyone wants to win that badly, which is really good to see, because if you don't want to win that badly, you shouldn't be
absolutely
at that spot.
I've always been on the board of, like, you ain't cheating, you ain't trying, man. And there's just a gray area to it. Now, if you're going to the extremes that the Astros were going, because in terms of sign stealing and football, yes, I truly don't think it matters as much as literally knowing what pitch is coming and where.
Oh
Like
yeah,
that is so much different in terms of baseball. And then you look at the Patriots with deflating the footballs. Like it's such a little thing. Spygate, even it's
but
it's
it
not
all
as big
comes
of a
with change.
thing.
It all comes honestly at the end of the day. It makes the sport better at the end of the
It
day.
does, because what Harbaugh actually is doing in the grand scheme of things is he's exploiting a gray area in the NCAA rules. That's why this thing may not actually be as bad and turn out as bad in terms of punishment wise, because the NCAA really might have been lacking in
Yeah,
terms
but
of
they
the
also punished him with a 4-game suspension because of a cheeseburger. So,
right. No, that's what I'm saying. It's like you go back and you look at like the recruiting violations with Clemson. This
dude,
was
every
just
single school has had recruiting violations. Ole Miss, Tennessee, like
right.
all these
And this
programs.
it's that's the thing about Michigan football is that I hate is like I love Harbaugh. I think he's done a great job at Michigan and guys literally love this man. So you have to root for him as a fan of Michigan. But it's like, dude, you are so unliked by them. So like why would you even touch it? I don't get that. Why would you even touch this? Because the NCAA is like watching you so closely. Like they don't want to see you win.
They're the
Like
one that signed stealing with Michigan.
oh man, it's just it
It's
sucks. It sucks so
I
bad because this
honestly,
year was the
I
dream.
just
The dream was happening right in front of my eyes as a
right
fan.
now. I mean, obviously, Michigan's probably not going to do it for the rest of the season. So,
No,
or you don't think they would, but
you don't think they would, and also it's like by this point in time, everyone's changing the signs. Connor Stallion did not get to go to the Penn State Ohio State game. He probably I don't know how much he
he's never
watched.
going to have a job involved with college football probably ever again
He
either.
shouldn't have had a job in the first place. This guy's a psychopath, man.
Yeah.
Like truly, he's on record doing some crazy stuff with his manifesto thing, and it's just like you're too obsessed. And there's obsession's a good thing until it's
Nah, until it's unhealthy.
passion is a good thing until it turns into obsession.
Yeah.
Um,
You disconnected. Robby over here. He's been a technical nightmare all night.
yeah. Anyway, so but the last thing to say is, yeah, sorry, Michigan was trying to steal my signs. They were coming into the intercoms now. They figured out now, like since they can't steal like the cardboard signs, like they know the radios coming into the headsets are coming.
Yeah, they're still in the frequencies.
Now they're taking my frequency. But anyways, man, the last point I'll make is as someone who we kind of have it. This is kind of our like not our job. It's our hobby, but we want it to be our job. It will be our job one day. This is gold, man. This is fun. It's fun to cover because it's like something new every single day. You're getting to see really what the direction of this program is going to be in the next 5 years. So it sucks as a fan, but as someone who reports it as an analyst, you're like, gosh, it doesn't get better than this.
Yeah.
This great storyline,
Yeah,
great hype.
And then, yeah, I mean, this is just what's going to come along with it. And my honest opinion, it was going to happen with someone. Michigan's just the one that's just going to take the heat, and we're going to see a lot come out. And when there's a docu-series release, we're like, oh yeah, we did this too. Oh yeah, we did this too. So that's kind of that's exactly what it's going to be. Like it's just they're kind of.
This is going to be like of the level. Like this reminds me already of like what the Johnny football series was like, and like just how much we learned about him and how much he's willing to expose like once it's over. Like that's what we're going to get to see.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're going to get to see, and
especially because I truly do think this team's going to win the national championship. Like this team's pissed off.
Yeah,
and they are good enough. Like they are talented enough to actually do it. And
let's see. And it would
see really they win it, man. They're definitely making a docu-series. It's going to be a great 30.
And then their championship's going to get vacated.
Yep, and then we're going to not even get the championship and whatever. And
but it also brings to the point of, Kansas literally had a fucking FBI investigation on their basketball team. They keep their national championship, and Bill Self just has to stay at home and watch a movie with the kids for a couple of games. So,
dude, it truly you don't know, but the amount of evidence that is just getting poured, it's like, oh frick.
Yeah, it's just because there's no.
I just don't want to see I don't want to see a bull ban. I don't want to see like you can bull ban us next year, but dude, just let this thing finish out.
Yeah,
That's all I
it's
ask.
gonna be very interesting to see because there's no set punishment on this, right? And
No, like
you don't
signing or stealing signs is not illegal. It's the way you do it, and even then, there's no punishable act. There's no punishment listed in the rule book.
not yet. Well, I don't think, and also I don't think they thought when they wrote this rule 29 years ago that it was going to ever come to this.
Oh no,
So
right.
it's going to be interesting to see how seriously they really do take this. But it
And
looks
how
like,
fast it develops too.
yeah, it looks like that this is gonna. The more that it goes on, the less good news that comes out of this. So
I just made a tweet. I said it was fun while it lasted because truly, man, I don't expect this team to be competitive next year because of what the damage this will do. Not even in terms of punishments, but just because we're going to see both coordinators go. Probably head coach is gone, and if one of those coordinators doesn't take over this head coaching vacancy, and you're probably sending 15 to 20 guys to the draft. Like, this is the end, man. That's why I just want to see him win it, no matter if it's going to have an asterisk next to it or not. It sucks, but
it'd be the
it's
last.
the nature. It's the nature of this game, man. And like you said, everyone wants to win, and everyone's doing everything to have the competitive advantages. Whether it's you're paying your recruits millions, or you are sending your $55,000 salary, just absolute hothead about Michigan football to 30+ games, and telling him to record it on his phone. Whichever way you're doing it, it works. It's working.
Was working.
Yeah, it was.
It.
The paying recruits thing is working though.
Yeah.
That might be our next play because now that we can't.
Hey, paying recruits as long as you say it's NIL.
As long as you say it's NIL and as long as your name isn't Jimbo Fisher, then you're fine. You're fine.
This is the Engage A podcast. Thank you for listening to us. Definitely two of the most entertaining people on the planet Earth. You're just going to keep seeing us at least 2 times a week. Going to be 3 with these college football playoff rankings coming soon.
Let's go, baby.
As long as Robby doesn't
Nope, as long as I stop falling asleep at the wheel, my computer doesn't
I wasn't
broken.
Yeah. Robby's just he's the child that he's that kid that's always going to the principal's office because of some stupid shit, okay?
But at the same time, I have everything together. Like, we're getting great grades. We got a great job.
He's got a 4.0 GPA, very loved around the school, very good athlete. He's just a retard. He's just
things don't always fall the right way. You got to have your faults. You take what cards you're given, and I wasn't dealt some of the best cards in terms of luck. Let's put it that way.
Maybe it's just a Michigan thing.
It's a Michigan thing, man. It's a Michigan thing.
Thank you for listening to us. Please follow our socials. See you tomorrow, when we get this preview show of week 9.
Yes, sir.